Power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, gentle enough to feel like safety. Most people imagine manipulation as obvious, waving red flags with malicious intent. But real psychological control rarely starts with force. It begins with subtlety, with attention, understanding, and a comforting sense of certainty. And by the time you realize what's happening, the damage has already begun. This is the dark side of power, how manipulators break you slowly. Every manipulator begins with a hunger, not for love, not for connection, but for influence. This craving often comes from insecurity, a fear of irrelevance, abandonment, or powerlessness. Controlling others becomes a way to feel safe, a way to guarantee emotional dominance. They learn early that if they control the environment, they can't be hurt. If they shape your behavior, you'll never leave. If they stay above you, they'll never feel small. These individuals are not drawn to relationships for mutual growth. They're drawn to relationships that affirm their authority. And the more power they gain, the more invisible the chain becomes. Real manipulation starts softly. At first, the manipulator seems caring, attentive, even protective. They study you, your fears, insecurities, hopes, and dreams. They listen, not to understand you, but to learn how to influence you. Then comes the subtle shaping. A quiet critique disguised as concern, a small request framed as help, a gentle suggestion that becomes expectation. You don't realize it's happening because the changes feel reasonable, even comforting. They make you believe they have your best interest at heart. This is how control begins, not with taking power away, but convincing you to hand it over. Once trust is established, the manipulator begins tightening the net. 1. Isolation. They create distance between you and others, not by force, but through subtle framing. They don't understand you like I do. They're a bad influence. Isolation makes their voice the only one that matters. 2. Gaslighting. They make you question your memory, judgment, and instincts. If you doubt yourself, you rely on them. 3. Intermittent kindness. They cycle affection with withdrawal. The inconsistency trains your brain to chase their approval, like an emotional slot machine. 4. Slow erosion of identity. They criticize your choices, then your opinions, and eventually your sense of self. Before long, you look to them for guidance on who you are. That's the real goal. Not to cage your body, but to colonize your mind. Manipulators don't need to shatter you quickly. Slow fractures are far more effective. Victims often apologize unnecessarily, second-guess themselves, lose confidence, feel responsible for the manipulator's emotions, believe they're overreacting. The tragedy is that victims don't notice their boundaries disappearing because they disappear one compromise at a time. Soon, survival means obedience. Disagreement feels dangerous, and leaving feels impossible, not because you're trapped externally, but because you've been convinced you can't make it without them. That's the most powerful cage of all, the one built inside your mind. We obey because manipulation feels like guidance. We obey because doubt feels like truth. We obey because losing ourselves feels easier than losing someone else. But awareness breaks the spell. When you recognize these patterns, you begin to reclaim your ability to choose. Power only works when you believe you have none. If you felt this type of subtle control, you're not weak, you're human. Knowledge is how you take your power back. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to MindScope for more videos on the exploration of the human mind. Until next time, take care of your mind.